Hi everyone, this is TK Viper Tech, and today we're going to unbox and look at the 2021 iPad mini, which came out in October. I've been trying to get one, but they have been sold out in many places. Even at the Apple website, there's a 5 to 6 week wait. This is the 256 gigabyte version in space gray, just a Wi-Fi model. I really wanted the purple one because that's the new color this time, but most places don't even have the space gray. I was lucky enough to get one from local PC Depot. Alright, without further ado, let's open this up and check it out. I've been wanting a new iPad mini since my first generation became slow because of all the updates. And finally, Apple has come out with one that is worth upgrading to, and that's because they finally decided to remove the home button and give it the new look that the iPad Air and the iPad Pros have. So that's why I was really happy when they announced this. I've always been a big fan of the iPad mini form factor. It's small enough to fit in most pockets, which means you don't need to carry a separate bag. And it is small enough to have with you at all times. The iPad Pro or the iPad Air, on the other hand, are better used when sitting down at a desk because they aren't so comfortable using standing or walking around. The first thing we find in the box is the iPad mini wrapped up nicely in this paper jacket for protection, and you'll see the shiny new power button that's combined with the fingerprint sensor. We'll put this aside and check out the other stuff. There's a packet here that contains all the basic stuff. We have a warranty card, we have a quick user guide, and of course the Apple stickers. So if you're coming from a newer iPhone, you should have no problem using this iPad mini. This guide just goes over how to use the device that doesn't have a home button. It goes over all the gestures you need to operate a machine without a home button, like to go back to the home screen or to open up the notification center or the control center. They're a simple guide, but it'll get you started. Next, we have the warranty card here, very standard stuff, all in Japanese. And finally, we have two pretty big Apple stickers. And that's it. That's just extra padding on the back, nothing else. Next, we'll take a look at the accessories. For the first time, we get USB-C instead of Lightning port on the iPad mini. So that's why we get a USB-C to USB-C charging cable. This is very nice. No longer do we need Apple's Lightning cable. And then we get a power brick. That's also USB-C. And this is a 20-watt power brick. It'll be fast enough to charge your iPad mini because the iPad mini has a pretty small battery. For the iPad Pro, you'll need something more powerful like a 30 or 65 watt charging brick. Alright, and now for the main item, the iPad mini. Let's peel this back and take it out of this jacket. Very beautiful device, aluminum on the back. Feels very nice and smooth and very thin. I think this is actually smaller than the first iPad mini, even though it has a bigger screen, an 8.3 inch screen instead of a 7.9 inch display, and that's because we no longer have the home button. Here is the camera, and for the first time we have a flash. There is the charging area for an Apple Pencil 2. On this side, nothing else. On the top, we have the volume buttons that have been moved to the top, and the power button and the fingerprint scanner combined in one. On the bottom, we have the USB-C port and some speaker grills. It is very compact. You can hold it in one hand like this, no problem. So it's a nice device to have with you everywhere you go. You can use it standing or walking around. It's not much bigger than the iPhone 13 Max. So you're not going to drop it when you're using it walking around. With the iPad Pros, those devices are a little bit too heavy and feel kind of clumsy when you're holding it with your hand and you're walking around with it. So definitely a very nice size for people on the go, like Apple said, for people using it on the field, like pilots or construction workers. So let's put this up and check it out. Boots up very quickly. It's got the new A15 CPU, so very fast. Choose your language of operation. I'm going to choose English here, and the country you're in. So in this case, Japan. And in a quick start, you can set it manually or have it kind of sync it to your old device, copy everything over. I like to start everything new, so I'm going to set this up manually. I don't want any junk from my old devices onto this new one. All you have to do, if you want it to automatically set up, is to have your iPhone or iPad nearby. It'll sync everything up for you. Now that the setup is done, let's check out the iPad and the interface. As you'd expect, it looks exactly like an iPad Pro or iPad Air. It works the same way. It doesn't have the 120 Hz refresh rate that the iPad Pros have, but that's because you're paying a lot less for this device. But still, it's smooth enough. I feel like that's not a big problem for me. For some people, for artists, maybe you want a faster refresh rate when you're drawing. For me, no problem. The only issue that I have is that, as most people have complained about, is the scaling issue. They've scaled down everything from an iPad Air display onto this display, so everything looks a little bit smaller. And that's a problem sometimes, because a small icon that works well on the iPad Air will be even smaller on this iPad mini. Sometimes it's very difficult to push those icons. So one solution is to get an Apple Pencil 2 or a cheaper brand. They sell for about 3,000 yen on Amazon, or you can get a stylus that's even cheaper. So here is Notes. Just testing out the keyboard. The swipe keyboard works well. You can split the keyboard, so this will make it even easier to type in landscape mode. In portrait mode, you don't need to do this because the iPad is small enough. You'll reach all the keys just with your thumbs. And that's what I really love about the iPad mini. You can type easily while you're walking around. The last thing we're going to talk about in this video is the set of cameras on the iPad mini. I've been very impressed with them so far. They work well even in low light situations like this. The back camera that I'm using right now is a 12 megapixel wide camera with an aperture of 1.8, and that means it will shoot nicely at nighttime. Things are going to look bright, like here in this video. It's got very good cinematic video stabilization, as you can see here. I'm just walking normally without any gimbal stabilizer to help me record this footage. Just holding it with one hand or two hands sometimes. Even my iPhone XS with optical image stabilization doesn't perform nearly as well as this camera, so I'm very impressed. Let me give you a quick tech spec on the back camera. It shoots 4K videos up to 60 frames per second, or slow motion videos at 1080p up to 240 frames per second. It has time-lapse video with stabilization, extended dynamic range for videos up to 30 frames per second, cinematic video stabilization for all modes, continuous autofocus, which means you don't have to tap on the object to focus on it. Anytime a new object comes into frame, it focuses automatically. And the best thing is that it records in both H.264 and HEVC, which will save you a lot of space on your SSD storage. And now let's take a look at the front-facing camera. Like the latest iPad Pros, the iPad mini is also getting center stage, which is a 12 megapixel ultra-wide front-facing camera with a 122 degree field of view. So basically you're getting an action camera inside the iPad mini. Unfortunately, like most action cameras, the aperture is 2.4, which is not great at low light situations like this. You can see the image is quite dark there. However, it does have cinematic video stabilization, so this is like hyper smooth on the GoPro or Rocksteady on the DJI action cameras. So you see the footage is very smooth. I'm walking just normally without a gimbal, just holding it with one hand, and we have very stable image even at nighttime, so that's great. Overall, I think these two cameras are the best cameras you'll find on any tablet on the market right now. So big thumbs up to Apple for including usable cameras. Even though it looks strange shooting with an iPad, at least it's not a full-size iPad, so you don't look as strange. And when you do need a camera, these two cameras are pretty damn good. Alright guys, that concludes my unboxing and quick look at the 2021 iPad mini. I'll be doing more videos on the iPad mini, talking about accessories and problems and also fun things to do on the iPad mini. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.